The National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, commenced an indefinite strike during the week. You must have heard that negotiations have been going on, but unfortunately, no compromise has been reached, so the strike continues. We have joining us this morning Dr. Julian Ojebo, who is immediate past first vice president of the National Association of Resident Doctors, and he joins us from Abuja. Dr. Ojebo, good morning.
Good morning, Alero.
Good of you to join us today. We heard the Minister of Labor last night. What seems to be the problem? Why can't you all come to an agreement? There is a pandemic now, and now more than ever, we need you to be at your duty posts saving lives.
Thank you, Alero. Good morning, Makinde. At best, I would say what the Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment, distinguished Senator Chris Ngige, said yesterday was to us like comic relief. We would actually think that someone as distinguished as the Honorable Minister will tell Nigerians the truth and nothing but the truth. The Minister did say that the National Officers Committee signed a communique after the signed the dotted lines after the conciliatory meetings, but he forgot to also add that the National Officers Committee at that point did tell him that they were going to convey the proceedings of the conciliatory meeting to the National Executive Council. They were the ones that said the doctors should go on strike. The decision was solely by the National Executive Council, and that decision was a unanimous decision because the Nigerian doctors are actually tired of the back and forth that the government has done over time. It's actually shameful, disgraceful, and embarrassing that the Honorable Minister would say that he pays for our textbooks. It's pitiable because his son just graduated from medical school, and I hope that in no distant time his son will be joining the bandwagon of those doctors that will be trooping to the United Kingdom and the United States as a result or repercussion of failed government, of failed governance. And I'm sure he will not come back to the table to tell us that the reason why there's brain drain is because there's a fantastic remuneration, as it were. He also did mention, sorry to go there, he also did mention that doctors in the United Kingdom and the United States of America actually pay to go for exams. That is actually falsehood, I would say, in its totality. Falsehood in the sense that I would ask the minister, he should tell us the total number of residency spaces in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In the United States, it sits about 31,000 yearly that are being matched. In the United Kingdom, it's about 16,000. So where did he hear that resident doctors pay abroad? In fact, if you train in the United Kingdom and you want to go to the far north, you're being paid 15,000 Great Britain pounds for you to move. Sometimes this trust can also give to you between 20 and 30,000 Great Britain pounds for relocation of your family. He also did say that following conciliation between his ministry and NARD, that they paid the sum of 32 billion naira to all health workers during the first period of payment for COVID-19 inducement allowances. That is also another falsehood. No Nigerian doctor,
pardon me, Dr. Ojebo. Pardon me.
Close to the 500,000 he alleged that we earned during the period of the pandemic. That's another lie. So,
pardon me, Dr. Ojebo. Resident doctors went on strike in September. ostensibly for the same issues that they're going on strike for this time. So between September and now, what happened between resident doctors and government?
Thank you so much, Alero. I think this should be the question that the minister should be answering and not playing to the gallery like he did last night. Between September and now, what have they done? Nothing. We have 13 demands on our communique. We have 13 demands. Not one of them had been done. Instead, they actually accruing more problems to themselves. Okay, so if between September and now you signed a communique, like they said, it was a memorandum of terms of settlement, you signed that, and after 9 months, we are back on the same table where we are saying that you are insincere, you are irresponsible as a leadership, you have failed us as executive appointees of government, you do not deserve to be at this table to discuss with us anymore. Okay, so I think this is a complete show of ineptitude by executive appointees of government. They have actually shown that they do not deserve the offices in which they sit, and in saner climes they should actually be resigning if we must tell them the truth. Okay, so what happened? Nothing. We said our hazard allowance is just a meager sum of 5,000 naira, and nothing was done to it. We said that we lost our loved ones during the pandemic, about 17 of them. We said pay them the death and benefits insurances, and nothing was done. He came yesterday and he was telling us that we should go and approach the insurance companies. Who says that? Who does that? That is crass ineptitude, we must say. Nobody, I am just a doctor. I should do my job as a doctor. If you're employed to do something, you should do what you're supposed to do. Don't tell me to leave the patients I'm supposed to cater for and then go forward and be chasing insurance company left, right, and center. I shouldn't do that. Okay, so these are the things we're saying. You've not done any of this. We're saying that there's poor infrastructure everywhere. Because of this poor infrastructure, the only hospitals that they have some level of accreditation, most of our members gravitate to these centers. Now, when they gravitate to these centers, they leave their wives, they leave their kids, they leave their homes. They now get to pay extra accommodation for the period of 3 months to 1 year. Now, these hospitals go to their lean pockets again and now take monies from them again. Some of these hospitals takes as much as between 50,000 to 70,000 every month from our residents. And we're saying we want this bench fee abolished. We're saying that what it takes to train a resident doctor for just one exam is between 2 million and 3 million naira. Now you're giving us less than that. We're saying that this is not enough, but we're going to manage that. Now the thing we're saying we're going to manage, you're not even bringing it. There's the 2019, the act was signed in 2017. In 2018, we weren't paid, our members weren't paid. In 2019, our members weren't paid. In 2020, the payment was epileptic. This is 2021. Our members are due for exams again, and they've not been paid these monies. So I don't understand what he means by the resident doctors are not coming to the table to discuss. All these have been laid bare on the table. Okay, so we don't understand what he means by when we are ready. A sensible government at this point in time will not be going for holidays because it's a festive period. You should actually call these people together, sit on the table and iron these issues out. You keep signing memorandums of terms of settlement, memorandums of understanding, and now it's memorandum of action. We don't even know what action has been taken.
Well, Dr. Jabo, one other issue that has been raised from the communique that was put out by your body is you also raised the issue of the registrar of MDCN concerning the handling of the processes of central placement of house officers as approved since 2017. Many might be wondering what exactly that means. Could you expatiate, please?
Yeah, I'll do that. Now, let's look at this critically. Now, because of when these doctors graduate from medical school, when they graduate, there's usually this delay replacement of these doctors. You have to know someone in one parastatal, you have to know someone, one permanent secretary, one director in one ministry or another for you to get a job placement. So we now said this is not the way it should be. There should be a central pool like the National Youth Service Corps that you pull all these doctors that just graduated from all the universities together, put them together, then distribute them to various institutions, okay, where they can actually now be trained. Now, there's also another fault with that. That was just done for only the federal teaching hospitals. What about the other parastatals of agencies that train house officers, like the military hospital, the police hospital? What about the private hospitals that we have that also train house officers? How do you now post house officers to these places? Now, that was not put into consideration. Now, moving forward, we now said that now you've placed them. Now that you have placed them, what are the modalities for their payment? Now, this was not answered. Now, this goes to also show you that there's also, we celebrate a lot of ineptitude in offices by executive appointees. If the registrar of the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria was actually abreast with what he's supposed to do, the act was signed in 2017. This is 2021. What took him so long? What took him so long to get all this data correct? What took him so long to get all the accreditation that he's supposed to get? He didn't do any of these. Okay, now, house officers were now employed. Now, when they were employed, in 2020, we noticed that our members were not paid in January. We noticed our members were not paid in February. In January, we approached the Ministry of Health to tell them that our house officers were not paid in January. Now, this lingered from January to February. We were still meeting them, we were calling them. In fact, at some point, the registrar of the Medical Dental Council of Nigeria wouldn't even pick the call of the president. So how do you now interface with him? So he's trying to tell us that, look, I am tired of this job. So now that you are tired of this job, sir, can you kindly leave the office so that someone that is capable enough can actually be put in that office to actually do what he's supposed to do? Okay, now you're saying that some chief medical directors and CEOs went outside the quota for your accreditation. That is not my problem. That is not the problem of the house officer. The house officer has diligently done his job for 30 days in a month, for 28 days in the next month, for 30 days in the next month, and you've not paid him his money. Are you trying to tell me that I should go back home? If I was the house officer, I should go back home to take care of my wife and kids if I had any, my families if I had any. How would I take care of them? I wouldn't have the wherewithal to take care of them. So this is the problem that we've been facing. Now we also have doctors on what we call the non-regular platform. Now these doctors have been there for about 4 months and have not been paid. So we are saying that these are the issues that we have with the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, because he's not doing his job. Well, once you don't do your job,
Mr. Jebo,
as prescribed, Dr. Jebo, you should.
Yeah, one baffling question for me, I have to say to you is, I mean, okay, permit me for this assumption. I want to assume that some of the issues that you have raised aren't new. There have been issues in the polity, especially in the health sector, for decades, more than 2 decades. Some of these issues are as old as 30, some of them 35, 40 years. So the question playing up in my head right now is, how come the same issues remain when the people who are in authority today were not anywhere near when these issues first arose in the first place? And I also believe that some of them are medical doctors who passed through the system just as the same system you are complaining about now. At what point did these things degenerate so bad that we're having issues of since 2017, sometimes even before then, that are still issues today which have not been resolved?
Yeah, your assumption is actually right, Makinde. Now let's look at it critically. These issues are not issues that we just brought to the table today. These issues that we'll be bringing from 2014, from 2015, from 2016 till date. And now we're in 2021. Now, the issue is that there's government insincerity to do its part. Because I do not understand, it's not rocket science that you sign a memorandum of understanding with a union or a group of persons, and then you've not done the impact assessment on your own to actually know, oh, for sure, I can actually do this, I can do this, I can't do this, I can't do that. You do your impact assessment. When you've done your impact assessment, you now tell us, I cannot do this one, I can do this other one. Okay, we now come to terms and agreement, and then you now put timelines. Now the government puts timelines, but they don't respect the timelines they've actually put. Yes, I agree from what you've said that some of these persons in offices are actually doctors, but we have to separate what kind of doctors they are. When a doctor is not doing clinical medicine, he will really understand the pains that these persons in clinical medicine are going through. Okay, like the minister, he didn't do clinical medicine, so he won't understand what the pains of residency actually is. Okay, so when you're trying to make them understand, they do not understand because they didn't go through that process, okay, to becoming what they are. Now, for those of them that actually went through the process, the problem is now that they have now mixed politics with medicine, and you cannot mix politics and medicine together. That is what we have said. Keep medicine aside and keep politics aside. When you want to treat the health of your people, treat it completely and holistically. When you want to do politics with other things that are not medicine. So what we're saying is that over time, government appointees have always failed to do their own part of the agreement. Okay, because I don't understand how someone will come to work for 4 months and you won't pay the person. Meanwhile, the appointee of government is relaxed and eating lavish of his own monies that have been paid to him, and the other person has not been paid, and then somebody sits in a meeting and tells the other person that you guys should go home, and in 3 weeks you had 3 weeks to the 4 months that you have not paid someone. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Dr. Jabal, Dr. Jabal, you've raised some issues, and your association has put out a communique. So the question one would want to ask now is, what are the options on the table? Well, we'll take that on when we return from this break. Just stay with us.
I don't like the way the president of the NARD is going about this business. He didn't participate in most of the discussions yesterday because he fell ill. He disowned the agreement that was signed by his deputies. It's not done in labor negotiations. This government are put in the wake of COVID-19, April 2020, a 9.3 billion insurance, group life insurance, with 13 insurance companies for all workers that are civil servants or who are in institutions that are not treasury funded. Immediately after the holidays, I'll talk to them again. I have told the Medical and Dental Council what to do with the holidays. I've told the Accountant General's office what to do to make sure that the 23 institutions, not all institutions are involved. It's about 23 institutions, federal medical centers and teaching hospitals combined. Try to see how you can start payment on this second group of backlog, people who you call overbloated numbers on your quota. We have waived your quota for now. Everybody that is in that system, pay. That is what is contained in our memorandum of understanding.
All right.
So I want to know what they have done by Tuesday, and by Tuesday, I will invite them back. If they become recalcitrant, there are other things I can do. There are weapons in the labor laws. I will invoke them. There is no work, no pay. Their employers have a role also to keep their business afloat, keep patients alive.
All right.
They can employ locum doctors. So we won't get there. But if we are going to get there, we use that stick.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, Dr. Jabo, before we went on that break, my partner had said, so what's on the table now?
Alero, like I said, and every other person that has been interviewed over time has said, we have 13 demands. 13. Now, in each of these 13 demands, the government of today has not even deemed it fit to do 20% of each. How do you expect us to go and tell our members that they should come back to work? Okay, let's look at the first one. We said pay all the house officers. You've not paid them, and you're threatening to sack them. I don't understand. How does that follow? You've not paid someone, and you're telling the person you want to sack the person. So why not pay the person first before you tell the person you want to sack the person? Why are you beating a dead horse? Our members are actually not perturbed. Our members are actually not moved. We are not worried. The only worry we have is our patients that are dying. We feel for them. But we also have to take care of our own mental, physical, social, and financial space as well. Okay, so if we don't take care of this, our own space, will now be a danger to our own patients we are trying to take care of. So if the government of the day is ready to do more than 50% of what we've asked them for, then we can now come back to the table and say, oh, the government has done 50%. Okay, now let's now put a timeline. In his own words, he said, memorandum of action. Then we'll now say, okay, these actions will now be taken in subsequent days to come. But you've not done up to 50%. The house officers are still not being paid. The residents of GIFMIS are still not being paid. You've also not discussed the terms of how our members that have died are going to get all they're supposed to get. You've also not told us when you want to start the negotiations for the review of the hazard allowance. We agree that there's supposed to be a CBA where all the unions are supposed to come together and get this done. A serious government would have been calling all the unions to come to the table as from Tuesday. Why keep it in 3 weeks from now? So this goes to show you that the government of the day is completely insincere. So when they are showing us insincerity, we have nothing but to answer them and stay back in our homes. He said he wants to sack us, he wants to get locum doctors. Please, you should go ahead. You should also not forget to employ locum neurosurgeons. You should also not forget to employ locum anesthetists. You should also not forget to employ locum general surgeons. You should also not forget to employ locum hematologists. They should employ all the locum doctors they can have. Please, the minister can go ahead and do that. We're waiting. Whenever they are ready, this is not the first time they've threatened us that.
Dr. Jebo. Dr. Jebo. Please correct me if I am wrong. Did the minister not say that your representative to the meeting did sign an agreement yesterday, but when they left the meeting, your president, who was ill during the meeting, refused to abide by the agreement signed by his own team?
Alero, that is another falsehood that the Honorable Minister has actually spewed out again. Now, in the last line of that agreement that was signed, the write-up there was that we will present your side of the conciliation to the National Executive Council and tell them all you have also said. Then we will now report to you what the National Executive Council also did say. Now the president did exactly what he signed. He signed he was going to go and meet the National Executive Council. Now a subsect of the National Executive Council, which sits as the Expanded National Officers Committee, had a virtual meeting and all the items were discussed. And we found out that not up to 20% of each of our demands have been met. So how do you tell your members that this is what has been done, this is what has been done? And mind you, these issues are not issues of yesterday. We have signed memorandums of understanding with the government before. So we keep signing memorandums of understanding, and this time they actually hurriedly changed it to memorandum of action. Why have you not done the action since? Now, for you to also know, Alero, that there's insincerity and insensitivity from the government. We gave you an ultimatum from January 27th, and you did not attend to any of them until the 31st of March, the day of expiration of the ultimatum. And then you are now calling for a conciliatory meeting to now discuss these issues that you have 3 months to discuss. So this shows you that government is not really ready to do any of the things they have said. But whenever they are ready, the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors will be ready to go back to doing what we know how to do best, taking care of our patients. But when in the event that they are not ready, we'll be here and waiting for them whenever they're ready.
Question I would like to ask you, because we're gradually coming to the end of this discussion. The question then would be, what are the options on the table? Because I understand, I mean, just as you said, there have been agreements over the years that have not been abided by either party or both parties. So for the NARD now, what are the options on the table?
The options on the table are simple. Do all of the 13 requirements that we've given to you. When you do them, resume work without fail the next day. In the event you don't do any of these, and you're leaving us with no option.
I mean, you know, in these negotiations, there can be no absolutes. There will be compromises. So that's why I'm asking, what are the options on the table? What are the compromises that NARD is willing to make in the event that government is, for one reason or the other, unable to do all 13 immediately?
Now, a serious government should be able to do all 13 immediately. You just have to put timelines to these things. Because if you don't put timelines to these things, it shows us that you're not ready. Now, for the issue of specialist allowance that we said, pay us our specialist allowance because we're specialists. For the issue of employment of house officers, we say employ the house officers and post them to the respective hospitals they're supposed to go to. We say there are members, we have our members that have not been paid for 4 months. You have the money that have been budgeted for, roll out the monies and pay them. What are these bureaucratic bottlenecks that are actually always stalling these processes and always making them to be non-seamless? Okay, so if you can do the minimum, which the Ministry of Labour, who sits as the conciliator, has been told by the National Officers Committee, because the minimum requirement for the exit for this strike has been told to the Honourable Minister. Why did he not come on air and tell us the minimum requirements? He should be telling Nigerians that this is the minimum requirement they have said that they're going to have before they go back to work. Pay these house officers their 4 months. They are dying, they are impoverished. Pay these residents their 4 month salaries. They are dying, they are impoverished. Pay us our hazard allowances all across board in the health system. You're not doing that. Give us a timeline to when you want to do that. Don't tell us that there's some economic viability team that does not translate to action. We know the economic viability team on paper. In reality, we do not have any of these hazards in our pockets. The nurses do not have them, the pharmacists do not have them, the doctors do not have them. So when all of these are done, the National Officers Committee will convene another meeting for the National Executive Council, where we shall now sit down to deliberate on all of the actions that the government has done. And when we find them tenable enough, when we find them reasonable enough, we will be calling off or suspending the strike, as it were, to give them room to do all of the actions that they have claimed they want to do. But when they do not do any of these, we do not have any other option but to stay where we are.
If they do not do those things, then you will continue the strike, correct?
Yes, Alero. Yes,
okay,
Alero.
Dr. Ojebo, all we can do now is to wish you all the best in these negotiations. But bear in mind that you did take an oath to save lives, and if lives are going to be lost, I suppose you'll have that on your conscience. Dr. Julian Ojebo,
yes,
immediate past first vice president of the Association of Resident Doctors. Thank you very much for coming to tell us about the current strike.